grunge music exploded onto the scene, coming from around the Seattle area. Now, with it coming out and becoming so popular, we also experienced a lot of heartache. And by that, I mean the loss of a lot of talent. One in particular that I'm referring to being Layne Staley from Alice in Chains. What you're looking at in front of you is the International Fountain here in Seattle. You can see the needle right behind it. The reason that we're here and what it has to do with Layne Staley is shortly after the announcement of his death, fans organized a memorial or a tribute, if you will, here. Now, for the tribute, they would actually have the water turned off, and along the rim of the fountain, where it was just lined in candles, letters, cards, flowers. Now, it was said that around 400 people gathered here to celebrate Layne's life and his legacy. Could you imagine what it would have been like to have been here? We're here in Kirkland, Washington, on the eastern shore of the Washington Lake just behind me, pretty close to Seattle. Now, in August 22nd, 1967, the Seattle Times would publish a birth announcement of a baby boy. That baby boy was Layne Staley. Two parents, Phil and Nancy. Now, in that particular announcement, it gave their address, 10146 Northeast 64th Street, Kirkland, like I said before, which would be the house standing directly in front of me. Now, this structure is split into different units, and his particular address would be this one on the corner right here. Now, Phil and Nancy would remain married for 7 years after Layne was born, and then they would ultimately file for divorce, not really given a reason, just Phil was like, yo, this just ain't working type thing. And shortly after the divorce was finalized, Nancy would marry again to a guy named Jim Elmer. Now, the Phil, he came around for a little while after the divorce, probably a year or two, and then eventually, I guess the visits kept getting less and less. Well, Layne's sister, she needed more stability. She was like, I need a steady father figure in my life. So Jim would actually adopt her. Now, Layne would take on Jim's name in school. He would actually be known as Layne Elmer, but he didn't ever get adopted or anything like that. It was stated that Layne was interested in music from an early age. His mom actually said that he took a Dr. Seuss book, and in the part where it's all about me, like what you want to be, and he actually wrote singer in it. One of the only times probably that as a child you can actually correctly identify what you want to be. Because I know as kids we always say, oh, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be president, and it never happens. But it did happen for Layne, which is pretty cool, because he did become a singer, obviously. Now, Jim would play a pretty big part in Layne's early love for music. He actually took him to his first concert, being Elton John. And then between the ages of 10 and 12, he took him to a Van Halen concert, where that really kicked off the love for music. He got really into like Ozzy and Twisted Sister after that. He would pick up, his first instrument would actually be a trumpet, and he would go to a cornet, and eventually at 12 that went to the drums. And he would start playing with, you know, some people from school and everything. And then one day they were kind of playing around, and he said, "Hey, I want to sing a song." And the singer was like, "You're the drummer. Drummers don't sing." And of course that pissed him off. He packed everything up, went and sold all his drum equipment that day and bought a microphone. And that day he found his true instrument, his voice. In 1984, Layne would actually get together with some guys from high school, and they would form the band Sleaze. 2 years later, the name would morph into Alice in Chains, like the letter.
What was the name of Layne's band at that time?
It was Alice in Chains at that time, actually.
Yeah.
So he had another incarnation of the band.
Alice in
Chains.
Guns
Alice in Chains.
Now, they played around the Seattle area, dressed in drag, and played speed metal. The band actually performed like Slayer and Armored Saint covers. The building you're looking at in front of you that says PCC Community Markets is actually where Music Bank Rehearsal Studios would have sat in 1987. Now, this area right here would have been where Layne rented rehearsal space for the band and ultimately lived here secretly. Now, it was around this time that he would meet Jerry Cantrell at a party. But Cantrell had like seen him previously perform, and he was like, "Yo, that dude is who I want to be in a band with," because he was like, "That's how I want to sing, so I want to be in a band with him."
The first time I heard that guy, I'm like, that's the guy I've got to be in a band with, you know. He sings, he sang a way that I always wish I could sing, you know. He really helped me kind of, you know, being around him inspired me to be a better singer, to work on that more and give me a lot more confidence. And in the later records, you know, he was like, "Man, they're your songs, you sing them," you know what I mean? So he really pushed me to kind of step up.
Anyway, so they met at this party, and at the time, Cantrell didn't really have a place to live, and he was struggling a lot with life. So Layne was like, "Dude, you can live with me here in this building." And shortly after, Alice in Chains disbanded, and Layne joined a funk band. Well, Cantrell, he had a band too. Well, Layne's band was in need of a guitarist, and Cantrell's band was in need of a singer. So they were like, "Okay, we'll intermingle. Like, I'll play for you, you play for me." So eventually Cantrell's band got to where they were like, "We need somebody full-time, a commitment from someone." So they started like auditioning people in front of Layne, and it pissed him off. And he eventually quit the other band and joined Jerry Cantrell's band full-time at that point. And that band that they formed together would be called Diamond Lie, which would eventually adopt Layne's previous band name, Alice in Chains, but this time they changed the letter N to actually the word N. So, thus, history was created. During one of Alice in Chains' performances, a local promoter would actually see them perform, and he was interested in paying for a demo. Well, they were going to do that back here at that building. But the day before it was to happen, police raided the building. It was actually the biggest cannabis raid in the state's history. That's a lot of weed. That's one way to kill your demo for sure. Yeah. Alice in Chains' popularity continued to grow, and their music continued to spread up until about 1996. Yeah. And that's where they went on an extended hiatus, because even though they were growing, something else was growing, an addiction with Layne himself. Because of his drug problems, that's why they took the break. Now, he went to rehab several times to try to help himself, but ultimately it would just always come back around to his drug issues. Now, in 1994, whenever Kurt Cobain would actually pass away from a drug overdose, it actually scared Layne into becoming sober, but then he fell back into his same old habits. Late in the year of 1996, Layne's girlfriend, or fiance, I've read in some things, actually passed away from heart-related issues due to drug usage. Now, Layne was put on a 24-hour suicide watch after this happened, and it was stated that he fell into quite a depression after that, which is understandable. I do want to share a quote from a Rolling Stones interview that he did. He said, "Drugs worked for me for years, and now they're turning against me. Now I'm walking through hell, and this sucks. I didn't want my fans to think that heroin was cool, but then I've had fans come up to me and give me the thumbs up, telling me they're high. This is exactly what I didn't want to happen." Now, he said that, it was probably like you're using like recreational, having fun, but then it got to a point for him where he compared it almost to insulin for a diabetic. In 97, he would actually buy an apartment here in Seattle's University District, which is the apartment building standing in front of you. Now, he would own the penthouse on the top floor. And it was stated that around 99 that he was basically living on a diet of heroin, cocaine, and meal supplements such as like Ensures or stuff like that. And that he would rarely leave his apartment other than to like go buy video games and come back here. Now, it was reported that members of the band, would call or come by, but it was basically like they weren't getting answers. Like, he wouldn't pick up the phone. They would come by, he wouldn't answer the door. It was stated that it wasn't unusual for them to go pretty long period of time without hearing from him. It wasn't until April of 2002 that his accountants reported that no money had come out of his account in 2 weeks. So his mom calls the police, or she calls 911 for a wellness check, and her and Jim Elmer come with the police and go to Layne's door, and they have to kick it in. And it's at this point that they find Layne still sitting on the couch. Now, Layne is over 6 feet tall, but he was down to 86 pounds when they found him, and he had to be identified by a dental record, Now, once they figured out what Layne died of, it was due to a speedball, which is a combination of cocaine and heroin. And there was drug paraphernalia all around the apartment. It was a really horrible thing that happened. Now, the last person to see Layne alive would actually be Mike Starr, where it was reported that the two of them got in an argument. Mike Starr was trying to call 911 for Layne, and it enraged him so much, and then Mike left. He had to hold some pretty bad feelings with that for a while.
I was with him all that day on my birthday, trying to keep him alive. And I even asked him if I could call 911, and he said if I did, he would never talk to me again. And of course, I didn't know he was going to die, or I would have called 911 anyways.
With Layne Staley's death, the world of music took a huge hit, and he's still missed today. It was truly a tragic event for somebody so young to be taken.
Well, that does it for us here in Seattle for this Layne Staley video. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did making it. I thought the talent here did a really good job on this video.
Now, it's always hard to me doing music people because we know their fandom runs deep.
Yeah.
And you can get annihilated doing the wrong thing or
Right.
saying the wrong thing.
That's true. I mean, so far I think we've done a pretty good job on all of our musical videos. I think we've served the community well, along with the artist or band that we've been talking about. So if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. Anything we may have missed on Layne Staley, kind of try to give it as much knowledge and in-depth as we do on everything. So if there's anybody that you would like us to do a story on, leave us that in the comments too, so we can start looking it up and maybe plan to get that done. Special shout out to our VIP Road Warrior patron, the Crypt Lady. Thanks for your sponsorship each month through our Patreon, Exit to Adventure. If you'd like to do that, head over there and check it out. Check us out on all things social media. But thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you down the road at the next exit.
Keep it spooky.